In the world of humans, gods could appear in many different forms. Shamans were like middlemen between gods and people. The word shaman was made up of two lines, one for heaven and one for earth, with a character in the middle that stood for those who lived somewhere between life and death. These special folks tried to uncover hidden truths and secret stories. Shamans were like bridges between life and death, linking heaven and earth, and sharing the secrets of the universe when heaven gave them the go-ahead. One day, in the home of a shaman, there was an elderly woman who predicted that the world would come to an end. She told a man who came seeking wisdom that Buddha would reveal how important their sacrifices were. This wisdom could either save or destroy the world. The man, feeling very lonely, asked for guidance to light his path for the sake of the world. The shaman paid special attention to twins born at 1 o'clock. She foresaw that the girl would become a kind of sacrificial hero, taking on the world's pain and suffering and becoming a mother of life. The boy, on the other hand, would grow up to be a father figure for warriors, learning how to create life and save those who had passed on. Lastly, the old shaman looked at a young boy and was surprised. She believed that the fate of all humanity rested on his small shoulders. Both the living and the dead would be drawn to him, and he would have to make some tough choices when the time came. He'd have to let go of something very precious. Many threads of death would surround him, and he'd have to tread carefully. The little boy was no longer alone, as many souls were watching over him. The old shaman wondered if this boy would end up saving the world or bringing about its destruction, just like a great shaman. The boy, Nakbin, soon found himself being tossed into a garbage dump because his schoolmates were upset with him. Nakbin hadn't told them that his mother was a shaman, and strange things had been happening ever since he joined their school. Some kids' grandmothers fainted, and one kid got hurt, all blaming Nakbin for it. He denied any wrongdoing, but the argument was only interrupted when their teacher stepped in, reminding them not to fight. One kid kept accusing Nakbin because of his mother's shaman occupation. The teacher asked him to stop saying negative things about his friend and checked on Nakbin, who was in tears. He insisted that he just wanted to make friends and play with them. The next morning, the teacher, feeling tired from not being able to sleep, entered her classroom, still troubled by Nakbin's tears. She hoped he could have a normal school life, but she couldn't ignore the strange occurrences around him. When she arrived, Nakbin was waiting for her, and he rushed over. A woman introduced herself as Nakbin's mother and requested a private discussion. Nakbin waited outside while the two adults talked inside. The teacher couldn't help but admire Nakbin's beautiful mother, dressed in traditional South Korean hanbok attire. Nakbin's mother mentioned her son's bullying, and the teacher apologized for not noticing earlier. Nakbin's mother assured her it wasn't her fault. She didn't plan to confront the bullies, but she mentioned that she might consider taking Nakbin out of the school if the situation persisted. The teacher strongly disagreed. Meanwhile, Nakbin was waiting patiently outside the classroom when he suddenly felt something ominous outside the window at the end of the hallway. A shadow appeared, and Nakbin asked him not to do anything there. Inside the classroom, the teacher promised to do her best for Nakbin's education. Nakbin's mother suggested homeschooling, but the teacher believed Nakbin should learn alongside his peers and make friends. She remembered Nakbin had enrolled late because his mother was initially against it. Nakbin's mother paused and asked if the other kids could get along with her son, considering her occupation as a shaman. The teacher reassured her it was possible. Nakbin's mother felt relieved briefly, but then she sensed something ominous outside the school building. She rushed to the window, feeling a strong energy related to Nakbin. Meanwhile, one of Nakbin's bullies, Youngchul, was idly kicking his soccer ball into the trash. He recalled playing soccer with other friends until ominous-looking hands suddenly grabbed his left leg, causing him sudden pain. Nakbin worried about Youngchul and wondered if he was okay after telling them not to harm him. The other kids, aware of Nakbin's background, assumed he had enlisted the help of ghosts to harm Youngchul. Frustrated, Youngchul blamed everything on Nakbin. A ghost appeared behind him, and as he protested, it reached out to him. Suddenly, blood splattered around, but Youngchul was fine and slowly opened his eyes. He found Nakbin protecting him from the ghost. The ghost was surprised to see a young shaman and wondered why Nakbin had come. It laughed and invited the kids to play with it. Nakbin, with determination, refused, stating he didn't want to play with the ghost. Nakbin's mother arrived, and they exchanged glances. Just then, the teacher arrived and was shocked to see a ghost, finally realizing the kids had been telling the truth about Nakbin all along. In that particular situation, a hushed silence fell upon everyone present. The ghost, once menacing, gradually shrank down, resembling a docile pet, and it inched closer to Yungchul. The mother and son who possessed shamanic abilities quickly discerned this eerie shift, and Nakban attempted to intervene. Yet Nakban's mother took charge, harnessing her spiritual prowess to summon a warrior-like spirit. In response, the ghost, gripped by fear, made a panicked escape. The threat had subsided, and a sense of relief washed over Nakban's mother as she realized that the apparition was merely a minor one. However, Yungchul and the teacher were left utterly speechless by the unfolding events. Soon thereafter, the teacher sat in front of her computer, utterly bewildered. She struggled to come to terms with the fact that Nakban could genuinely perceive spirits. Suddenly, an enraged father burst into the faculty room, dragging Nakban by the ears, and admonished the teachers for failing to protect his child from the ghostly encounter. He chastised the school for admitting a shaman's child, deeming them all as crazy. He forcefully slammed Nakban to the floor, demanding that the school expel him. Nakban's eyes welled up with tears as he glanced at his teacher, surrounded by a crowd of curious onlookers. Among the students, rumors began to circulate like wildfire. One student claimed to have seen Nakban conversing with spirits, while another whispered that a classmate's mother had met an untimely demise. Tales of Nakban playing with ghosts and Yungchul sustaining injuries during a soccer game further added to the growing murmur. Seeking clarification, the homeroom teacher requested evidence, but Yungchul's father argued that the children's words were proof enough. The principal urged for an apology, and Nakban signaled to his teacher not to comply. However, viewing Nakban as an outcast, the teacher pressured him into offering a reluctant apology, which left him in tears. That afternoon, the teacher called Nakban's mother and presented a list of Nakban's alleged transgressions. Nakban's mother inquired if her child had truly harmed others, but the teacher dismissed Nakban's version as mere excuses and insisted that he had injured Yungchul. The teacher expressed a desire for Nakban to fit in at school while ensuring the safety of the other children. Nakban's mother, adopting a grave tone, questioned if the teacher herself had encountered something supernatural. The teacher, feeling uneasy, confessed that she had indeed seen the ghost but claimed she wouldn't anymore. Nakban's mother explained that ignorance was a form of bliss, fear clouded one's judgment, and the teacher had turned away from the truth due to falsehoods. She believed her son could adapt and lead a normal life, but she understood that the teacher couldn't assist him any further. With a heartfelt thank you, she hung up, leaving the teacher feeling apprehensive. Later, Nakban's mother noticed her son's return and inquired if he had been hurt. Nakban wondered why everyone seemed to despise him, and he blamed himself for trying to assist the other kids by communicating with spirits. His mother consoled him, assuring him that the blame did not lie with him, and they began studying together. Yet, Nakban felt a sudden surge of energy, and his mother sensed that more deities were attempting to make use of him. She recognized the need to prevent this and engage in negotiations. The following morning, they initiated a god-calling ritual, with Nakban kneeling before an altar. Nakban's mother fervently prayed for her son to lead a conventional life, even contemplating drastic measures. A peculiar radiance enveloped Nakban as a colossal pillar of light descended upon their home. Nakban's mother caught sight of various deities standing behind him, and she trembled at their sheer number. She implored them to take her instead of her son, but they declared her unworthy. The Emperor of Heaven, protector of Korea, materialized and elucidated that every being coveted her son, as he had received a prophecy. The primordial deity responsible for the creation of the world would descend upon Nakban, heralding the world's end, a fate beyond human influence. Nakban's mother was instructed to comply and bear witness to the unfolding events. Nakban's mother shook with shock, knowing they had suffered. She couldn't believe that even the ancient god was after her son. The Emperor of Heaven claimed that humans were responsible for their suffering. Nakban's mother then complained about the false prophecy of the ancient god descending upon her, wondering if Nakban's father was just a tool for that moment. This was the first time Nakban had heard about his father. The emperor then explained how Mount Baekdu had roared when she was giving birth. The lands had endured the pains of her labor, meaning Nakban was not her only child. Nakban's mother couldn't do much to give him a normal life. She was prepared to face any storm, but Nakban's destiny seemed already decided. Yet, Nakban's mother wasn't willing to accept that. She called upon the god of longevity, declaring that Nakban was still too young to bear such spiritual power. She even attempted to harm Nakban so the gods wouldn't have a reason to interfere. However, a voice with a red aura appeared and entered Nakban. He rose slowly with a different voice, introducing himself as the father of all martial masters and war gods, Jia-Aji's descendant, Chiwu. Nakban's mother wondered if she could possibly defeat such a monstrous god. She exclaimed that Nakban hadn't yet learned possession. But Chiwu knew that no shaman could teach Nakban. Nakban's mother then asked Chiwu to release Nakban, promising not to interfere again. Chiwu couldn't believe she didn't know her son's fate, but Nakban's mother insisted otherwise. She decided to fight back by uniting her two war gods. She called upon the sword god, who transformed into a massive sword. The god of longevity seized the sword god and charged toward Chiwu. However, the father of all war gods effortlessly stopped the attack with his palm. The god of longevity was almost struck by a powerful blow from the much larger god, who complained about the lesser war gods rebelling against him. He grew furious and drew his weapon. Nakban's mother understood they couldn't win and asked the god of longevity to step back. Yet, Chiwu's attack still landed. Despite the god of longevity's attempt to block, he was sliced in half, inflicting the same injury on his summoner. Nakban's mother collapsed, coughing up blood. Chiwu scolded her for meddling with divine beings. She countered by saying it was the gods who didn't understand a mother's heart, a heart that only wanted to protect her child. The god couldn't believe she was still so stubborn. Nakban's mother then declared there was nothing left for her, having set her son on a path of suffering, and asked to be put out of her misery instead. The war god then compelled Nakban to carry out her request. The mother couldn't believe her son could look at her like that. All she wanted was for Nakban to feel the warmth she had received from her late husband. She accepted her fate, and the war god raised his sword. Just then, Nakban snapped back to his senses, and a massive lightning bolt struck their yard. Nakban wept, pleading with the war god not to harm his mother. Chiwu couldn't believe Nakban had broken his restraints. Nakban proclaimed that he was his mother's son and even called Chiwu Grandpa. Chiwu had become angry, but Nakban kept pleading for mercy. After a moment, Chiwu stopped and burst into laughter. Both the mother and son were shocked. Chiwu exclaimed that it was the first time someone had called him Grandpa, and praised Nakban for being brave, noticing the confidence in the kid's bright eyes. He couldn't wait to see what path Nakban would take in the future. Chiwu decided to spare them for the time being and left. Nakban's mother was relieved they were safe, but she was badly hurt from the fight. She realized she had severe internal injuries. She was more concerned about teaching Nakban how to avoid being chased by the ghost. It was hard for her to believe that such a young child had such a difficult fate. Shortly after, Nakban's mother prayed to the gods to guide them in the right direction. Just then, Nakban appeared and said he could sense a strange and powerful presence approaching. His mother said it was an unwelcome guest, and they should prepare to fight. Nakban was worried because she hadn't fully recovered. Nakban's mother called him over, and Nakban gave her a big hug. She realized she had never hugged her son properly before. Nakban started crying, blaming himself for everything, but his mother reassured him. Then, Nakban suggested calling Grandpa Chiwu to stop the attackers. Nakban's mother refused because Nakban wasn't yet able to handle stronger energy, and she feared Chiwu might use Nakban's body in a harmful way. Nakban was just concerned about his mother's injuries. She advised him to train and become stronger instead of relying on Chiwu. She assured him that she was still the same strong person who could ward off the evil ghost. Nakban stopped crying and asked about his father. He remembered his mother crying about him during the clash with the gods. He wondered if his father had died because of him. Nakban's mother hugged him and swore it wasn't his fault, then decided to share a story. A long time ago, people believed Nakban's mother had the same power as Nakban did now. She was imprisoned, unable to speak any language, and was called the child of a beast. However, during that time, a man was always by her side, and that was Nakban's father. He taught her everything, and that's how she became human again. Soon after, the two fell in love. After a while, Nakban's mother looked at a burned part of the forest. Nakban's father passed away, and his mother blamed herself. He died protecting her. She confided in Nakban, saying she believed it was supposed to be her, but she worried about what would happen to Nakban after. Touched, Nakban hugged his mother, sweat beading on his forehead as he tried to shield her. She then asked him to go back to his room, and he obeyed easily, leaving her side. His mother went to the side of the room and opened a drawer with a box in it. She spoke to it, sharing her fears of evil spirits, and swore to stand by Nakban even if it meant her own end. Clutching the box tightly, she sought forgiveness from Nakban's father. Meanwhile, Nakban felt uneasy in his room. He sighed and sat down, calling for Dongja, seeking assistance. Dongja arrived, saying he wasn't a fighter and suggested asking Baekdu instead. Nakban recounted his mother's warning not to call the gods lightly. Dongja assured him that Baekdu was a spirit, not a fearsome god like the others. Convinced, Nakban called for Baekdu. Baekdu came, sensing the presence of an evil spirit, but admitted he wasn't confident in battling it. Nakban couldn't believe it, knowing Baekdu was known for his knowledge. Baekdu pointed out that Nakban's mother might be in danger, as she was already injured. He explained that she had lost a significant amount of her vitality and lifespan after losing the longevity and sword gods. Overwhelmed, Nakban pleaded with Baekdu for help. The old spirit mentioned a potential solution but couldn't guarantee its success. He revealed that Nakban's mother possessed a secret technique called the Path of Spirit Governance, which held the power to command spirits. He told Nakban he could learn to fight spirits if he studied this book. Nakban eagerly wanted to read it, and Baekdu said it was in the library. However, learning the technique would take decades. Seeing Nakban's despair, Baekdu suggested reading just one page before sunset. He explained that Nakban was born with the energy of Baekdu Mountain and a body prepared for the mightiest gods to reside in. Before long, Nakban sneaked into the library with Dongja, worrying about getting in trouble. He searched for the book in the drawer where his mother kept her most precious items. A box jumped out, giving him a start. He remembered seeing his mother placing a book in it during a ritual. Dongja suggested the book they were looking for might be inside. But it hurt when Nakban touched it, so he called for Baekdu's assistance. The old spirit noticed that the box was guarded by shadow spirits and would be hard to open. He instructed Nakban to open the door wide, which he did. The bright sunlight dispelled the shadow spirits, and the box opened. Baekdu was impressed by how Nakban's mother had safeguarded the box using these spirits. Nakban found the book on spirit governance, but he couldn't make sense of it. Just as he felt hopeless, a sudden burst of light emanated from the book. A voice instructed Nakban to seek them where water flows vigorously. After receiving this message, Nakban rushed out of the house, leaving Dongja wondering where he was headed. Nakban explained that a voice had given him directions, knowing this could help his mother. Meanwhile, at a bus stop, a lady dressed in black got off. A child and his grandma wondered what brought a young lady to the countryside. While barefoot, the girl walked through the forest, giving off an eerie vibe. Suddenly, she halted and glanced to her left, spotting a house nearby. At last, she found what she had been searching for. Meanwhile, Nakban climbed a cliff with the assistance of Dongja, though she was only giving Nakban instructions. Nakban felt grateful, and Dongja reminded him that she would always be by his side. Nakban stood up and stumbled upon a waterfall. Dongja suggested that it could be any waterfall, but Nakban sensed a strange energy coming from it. Pondering his next move, he peered down at the water, only for the ground to crumble beneath him. He tumbled into the water, where he was greeted by a water god. The god explained that the Path of Spirit Covenant had sensed Nakban's desperation for power and led him to her. She offered her strength, allowing Nakban to summon her, but he declined, not wanting to rely on summoning gods. However, the water god's atmosphere changed, and claimed that she was tempted to use Nakban's body as a vessel to escape the valley. Nakban attempted to escape, but the water god used underwater kelps to drown him to take over his body. Thoughts of his mother filled Nakban's mind as he struggled for air, eventually losing consciousness. On the other hand, Nakban's mother steeled herself for her next actions. While preparing, she contemplated whether running away would be a better choice. She searched for Nakban but couldn't sense his presence. As she wondered what had happened, an unwelcome guest arrived. After pondering the mysterious energy surrounding the woman, multiple spirits materialized and attacked her. A sudden memory emerged, showing outsiders being buried alive to boost the village's crop yields. The outsiders claimed that the shaman was deceiving the villagers to strengthen her own spiritual power. These outsider spirits harbored resentment against shamans and continued to haunt them in the form of a white snake. Nakban's mother realized that it was a vengeful spirit possessing a snake demon. The woman's presence amplified the bond between them, and their intense hatred for shamans was suffocating. The possessed woman commented on how delicious Nakban's mother smelled and produced multiple chains connected to various shamans she had previously killed. Nakban couldn't believe that the souls of shamans were being manipulated like puppets. Suddenly, Nakban's mother had a vision of her deceased self seeking forgiveness from her husband. She dispelled her other self and confronted the evil spirit for using hallucinations and mocking a disciple of God. She rang her shaman bells and summoned the general god, a formidable warrior with a spear. The evil spirit was pleased to face a shaman of Nakpen's mother's caliber, and saw her as a potentially useful puppet. Nakpen's mother swore to purify the evil spirit. Back in the valley, Dongja wondered why Nakpen had not resurfaced from the water yet. Fearing that he might have drowned, she attempted to enter the water, but Nakpen suddenly emerged. Dongja was taken aback, sensing that something was wrong with Nakpen. She had asked if he really was Nakpen. When she saw Nakpen, who showed no emotion, Dongja threw a stone and pleaded with the water ghost to return Nakpen to her. The stone hit Nakpen, who complained about the pain. Dongja quickly said sorry and noticed that Nakpen's wild energy had become as calm as water. She wondered what had happened, and Nakpen pushed her away. He admitted to meeting a water god. Just then, they both felt a powerful energy coming from Nakpen's house. Knowing that something must have happened, Nakpen rushed back home with his newfound powers. Meanwhile, Nakpen's mother faced off against the evil spirit. She called upon the general god to attack the shaman's spirits, while she went after the main body. The general god severed the connections to the spirits, giving Nakpen's mother an opportunity. She commanded the general god to strike the main body, but the evil spirit used the shaman child's soul as a shield. In that moment, Nakpen's mother found herself surrounded by the remaining spirits. They all attacked her, but the general god shielded her. He urged Nakpen's mother to flee and then vanished. The evil spirit felt a kind of pity, as it was the god who perished instead of Nakpen's mother. She declared that like gods, shamans were indifferent to death. Nakpen's mother grew furious and insisted that the evil spirit's grudge was to blame. Just then, the demon snake appeared and coiled around her. When she saw the woman's body lying still, Nakpen's mother realized it was just a shell and the true body was the snake. The snake then bit Nakpen's mother, who could no longer summon an armed god. She used the last of her strength to shock the snake, but she was already weak and bleeding. The snake still rose. Nakpen's mother tried to use the path of spirit governance with the little power she had left, but it wasn't sufficient. The only option left was to self-destruct. She caught a final glimpse of Nakpen. Enraged, the snake lunged at Nakpen's mother. Just then, water formed into an arrow and pierced through the snake as if it were a skewer. Nakpen's mother was astonished to see a water arrow. Nakpen arrived, asking if his mother was okay. She begged him not to come closer and to run away instead. Nakpen refused and approached the snake with determination. He vowed to rescue his mother. Nakpen's mother was surprised by her son's energy. A loud scream interrupted them, and it was the snake writhing in pain while cursing out Nakpen. Nakpen glared at it and exclaimed that he was not scared while throwing out more water arrows. The snake demon was pierced from various angles. The demon was shocked by Nakpen's strength and decided to use a different method. It returned to its human shell and ordered its puppets to attack Nakpen. Nakpen's mother warned him not to let the evil spirit use her hands. Nakpen complied and brought out more water. He needed to make the water colder and reach the evil spirit's hand. The evil spirit's hand became frozen, and the heaviness made it fall to the ground. A circle of water also surrounded it, and Nakpen turned it into a huge water ball, trapping the evil spirit inside. He planned to make the evil spirit experience the fear he felt a few minutes ago. The evil spirit could sense that Nakpen was dangerous. Nakpen then tried to drive it away, but the evil spirit controlled its puppets to receive the attacks instead, making Nakpen shocked. He can't believe he attacked the spirits. The evil spirit laughed as Nakpen despaired of killing the spirits of humans. Nakpen's mother exclaimed that he was being tricked and told him to look at the shamans before they disappeared. However, Nakpen continued to despair about his actions. Just then, warm voices called out to Nakpen. The spirits of the shamans he destroyed were thanking him for giving them freedom. They were glad to be away from the evil spirit and told him not to worry about them. They asked Nakpen to destroy the evil spirit for them. They disappeared as they ascended to the heavens. Nakpen's mother hugged him from behind and told her son that he did his best to give the shamans eternal rest. Nakpen cried as he claimed that he could have saved them. His mother then reminded him to move forward using their wills and not blame himself for it. Just then, the snake demon passed by and attacked Nakpen's mother. Nakpen looked behind and discovered her mother in the mouth of the snake demon. Nakpen's expression darkened as he trembled in disbelief. He screamed from the top of his lungs, and the drawer in his mother's room shook hard. The box that contained something related to his father came out and rolled on the floor until it opened. Nakban stomped on the ground, and blue energy came out of the box. Nakban attacked the snake demon using the water from underground. Dongja grabbed Nakban's mother and flew to safety. Nakban continued using water-based attacks and made the snake look like a popsicle. He swore not to let it get away. Suddenly, a blue ball of light came out of their house and stopped in front of Nakban, surprising him with its sudden appearance. Nakban's mother then became conscious and asked Nakban not to use his strength when he was angry, or he would be overwhelmed by it. If he used too much strength, he would need better control over it. Nakban calmed down a bit after seeing his mother talk. The snake demon got back up and started channeling an attack. Nakban quickly noticed it, and he put up a barrier. However, the barrier started breaking, and he was being pushed back. Nakban was on the verge of being killed, and he started asking for anyone's help. The blue ball of light from before suddenly moved and stopped the attack with Nakban. Nakban warned it that it would die and asked it to get away. However, the blue ball ignored his warnings, wrapped around the snake demon's sharpened weapon, and suddenly burst with energy. Nakban got the message and understood the blue ball of light. He thanked it for its help, and the two worked together. The two continued to push back until a figure appeared behind Nakban. The snake's sharp weapon broke and flew upward until it landed on the snake demon's body. The demon snake writhed in pain as it felt angered at being killed by a shaman again. It hoped it had the chance to take over Nakban's great power. It started disappearing as it exclaimed its hatred. Upon hearing the words, "Great power," Nakban realized that more spirits would continue to come to him. Dongja suddenly called out Nakban. He looked back and discovered his mother lying on the ground, bleeding. He then ran toward his mother, who was already on the verge of death. Nakban had dreaded the thought of losing his mother. Dongja had told him that his mother's breath was running out, and she might not survive for long. Tears streamed down Nakban's face as he clung to his mother, desperately seeking help from Dongja. However, the spirit didn't possess enough strength to heal her. In his anguish, Nakban continued crying until a brilliant blue ball of light soared towards his mother's body. To his astonishment, it transformed into a fiery flower. His mother's body started to glow, and her wounds vanished. She regained consciousness and gazed at her worried son. Nakban's tears of despair turned into tears of relief. As Nakban's mother sat down, bewildered by the sudden turn of events, the two of them held the fire flower. Nakban explained how it had driven away the evil spirit and healed her, albeit at the cost of weakening itself. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Nakban's mother wept and thanked the fire flower. She then surprised Nakban by urging him to greet his father. She revealed that Nakban's father had been with them all along, as a fragmented piece of his soul. She was overjoyed that her husband had protected their son. Nakban was stunned by this revelation. He felt compelled to share a secret with his mother. After a moment of silence, he confessed that he had acquired the ability to read the path of spirit governance, met the Buddha, and gained the power of water. He recounted a harrowing encounter with the water god from the valley when he nearly drowned. In a flashback, Nakban's mother recounted how they had chosen his name. During their travels, they had stumbled upon a breathtaking white waterfall, its beauty moving them deeply. They immediately decided on a name for their son, Nek, from Molnak, meaning waterfall, and Bin, from Binal, signifying shining. The name symbolized Nakban's strength, like a rushing waterfall, and his gentleness, like a calm river. They hoped he would be someone who saved lives and wanted him to live like water. Returning to the present, Nakban found himself underwater, able to breathe as if by magic. Someone addressed him as Master, and the water god began apologizing, explaining that she had only been testing his ability to survive the trials ahead. Nakban accepted her apology. The water god revealed that Nakban's name resonated with the spirit of water in the path of spirit covenant, and their meeting had been destined by chance. She proceeded to enlighten Nakban about the art of controlling water, thus bestowing upon him the power of water. The flashback concluded, leaving Nakban with newfound knowledge and abilities. After she heard everything, Nakban's mother was happy to learn that the message they put in Nakban's name worked. Nakban started feeling the warmth of his father's soul, the infinite sense of peace caused by his father's love. He always wanted to see his father and the family of three finally reunite. Soon after, a man received a call from Nakban's mother, and she asked for some time for a conversation. She apologized for suddenly contacting him, but the man was fine with it despite not receiving any good news lately. He then wondered if there was something wrong. Nakban's mother then told him that the thing she was worried about had finally happened. The man couldn't believe the prophecy was true, and Nakban's mother explained that one of the evils had already sensed it. She hoped that the man could take care of Nakban before something dangerous happened. She deeply asked for a favor. A few days later, Nakban continued training his control over his water power. His mother came over with food, and he was happy to see his favorite foods and sausages. He asked his mother to eat too, but she refused because she was going to do something. She left Nakban happily eating his meal while she was in deep thought. The night before, Nakban's mother told him that she had found a teacher for him. She asked Nakban to follow the path she had prepared for him. She wanted him to accept all gods, learn with sincerity, shine in the dark world, and comfort those who were suffering from misfortune, just like his parents. However, Nakban was scared and worried that he might not do well. Just then, he heard some noises coming from outside. Nakban was startled upon seeing a man come in while groaning in pain. He asked for the man's identity as he conjured his power. The man asked to wait as water spears flew toward him. Nakban became confused as the man slipped because of the water and fell flat on the ground. Nakban checked on the man, who was drenched. He claimed he was fine and wondered if the kid in front of him was Nakban.